Okay, and I will record to the cloud.
Recording in progress.
Okay, go ahead, Bob. You can. Do you need to share by any chance, or do you want me
What
to?
is this? What is this, Ed?
This is the thing he talked about. The laptop.
No.
You
What
put together
is
stuff.
this?
What is our meeting?
Understanding technology.
How about what organization?
Oh, this is the Chicago Computer Society wannabes. Yes.
And what month and year?
We are in January of 2026. Anything else you'd like to add?
Would you like some Novocaine with that?
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh, you've been to the
I'd like to cancel my trial subscription to 2026, please.
You've been to the dentist today?
No, my trial subscription to 2026. I'd rather rerun 2025.
Okay, but both myself and Sid have new tech that we have acquired.
Okay.
And I can go first with a few things about my laptop. I have, and if I'm very lucky, I can get my camera switched so I can show this. This didn't work before, but if it doesn't work, I will just a moment here. Okay. It won't.
I can share the framework website if you want.
I can do that. I can do that. Just a moment. I
It disappeared
think
from the view.
one more thing. There. Okay. Now I can be heard and my other camera can be seen. And that, what I wanted to do is to show just how ordinary these laptops look on the outside. They have, this is a Framework 13, and it's basically a 13-inch laptop. Let me open it up and see if you can tell yet that any part of it was from a kit. See?
Looks clean.
And the screen, though it's not on, is a 2K screen. So, and it's bright, and the colors, while they aren't perfect, they're fairly true. Now, let me show you the first clue that there's something modular about it. These that can slide in and out are ports. This one happens to be HDMI. I don't think you can see the end of it, but it's HDMI.
Yeah. Okay.
And the other end of it is USB-C. And it has an internal port that is USB Type-C. Snap it in, and you can change ports. You can have up to 4, but because this is an AMD Ryzen-based motherboard, it's rather specific and kind of picky about which ports can go into which connectors.
Okay.
Because of the way the motherboard is. If it were an Intel board, it would be a little more flexible. But I have 2 USB-C ports, one of which does the power, and the other of which is high speed, and has all the wiring, so you could do it. I can do a dock. I have done. I also have a USB Type A port, which you don't often find on laptops these days. And I could put in an Ethernet port by swapping out the HDMI. I could put in an Ethernet port at the fast USB-C if I wished. Now, let me show you stuff I can't show you live. And in order to do that, I'm going to switch back to me and put my background here because I don't think people like looking at my boxes. And I will do a screen share. And that'll be my whole screen. Initially, you'll see just you guys. Let's see, that's fine. That'll work. Now I call up my browser. Now I am going to try to get to, I'm not sure which, oh, here we go. Yeah, one of these first 2 is the page from which I made my order. Okay, yeah, this is the system. the base price, these are not cheap. This is a do-it-yourself AMD AI300 series. It has an NPU, and it's a good NPU. It's got something like over 50 tops. So it's okay for all the applications you would normally need, including Copilot. AMD Ryzen AI7 350. That raises the price by $400. And instead of the base display, I went up to 2.8K. So it's actually 2.8K.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody's going to be very confused if they just came in the middle of this. And for RAM, you have a lot of different configurations. Something important about RAM. If you try to buy it from their parts store, you can't get it. It says coming soon.
Right, yeah.
But if you do a build, they have enough.
Right.
And so you can do 16 gig as 2 times 8. You can do 32 gig, which is what I chose, as 2 times 16. And the RAM that they sent was not a name brand RAM like Crucial or anybody.
Okay.
So you could provide your own Crucial if you insist on having a certain quality of RAM. And you can go all the way up to 96 gigabytes, 2 times 48, though that would run hotter than your kitchen stove.
Yeah.
So, and it would also probably need a power supply more powerful than what they offer. So if we add that, it's all the way near $2,000 already. And for the storage, I decided 1 terabyte was the absolute minimum I could deal with. There is a choice between WD Black, the 7100 series, or the WD Black SN850X, which is a nicer grade of the WD Black. WD Black is one of my favorite brands, by the way. So we add that, and we're up to about 2150.
These are all full-length M.2 slots?
Yeah, 23 M.2 23.
Okay.
Which is standard.
Okay.
In order to have that much storage capacity, it would almost have to be like that, unless they were using something.
Well, I wasn't sure if one was small and one was large, or how many slots you had. Was it 4 slots you have?
There's only one M2 slot.
Okay.
There is a miniature slot for the Wi-Fi card. So you can swap that out, but you don't need to on this one, and I'll explain later. I also ordered Windows Pro. So everything else here, the only other expense are the ports. I ordered a black bezel. Now you assemble your own bezel, and that's a little tricky because there's a point at which it passes through the case. And if you get it just a little bit off, there's a wire in there. Sometimes as you receive it, the wire is on top of the hinge, but it's supposed to be behind the hinge. That will distort the bezel and may cause cracking.
Yeah.
Fortunately, the black one is flexible enough that doesn't destroy it. If it were the translucent one, you'd be in trouble. So I did have to actually turn the laptop over and gently tap through from the other side to even it out. So there are assembly issues, but that's one of the worst assembly issues. And if that's the worst you're doing, you're okay. And of course, standard English keyboard, and that's what it looks like. And they have keyboards in a lot of different languages.
Yeah.
And you have to buy the power supply, 60 watts. That's a little bit weak on power for this configuration, but it's what they had. So I bought that. So now we're up to almost 2,400. Expansion cards. This is where the action is. I will show some things about the interior later, okay? USB-C, because one is almost always dedicated to power delivery and stuff like that, go with 2. And you can choose your colors. I said brushed aluminum because the case is brushed aluminum. USB-A, I went with 1. And that's the illustration of USB Type A. And I went with 1 HDMI. Why? Because this is for presentations in that kind of a setting and meetings. And very often it's handy to have an HDMI out. I can swap this off. I can swap this out for a different port if I wish. If I were to go with Ethernet, there it is. that just clicks into the same slot. If I were to do DisplayPort, that would also click into the same slot. You can do micro SD or SD, but you know why I don't? It's because that technology has changed a lot over the years. There's a lot of different varieties of it, and you're kind of wasting ports if you don't throw that out to a dock. And a dock isn't going to slow down the performance on an SD card.
Yeah.
So that's why I did it that way. So about 2400, 2440. It's not cheap, but that's the way I did it.
Does
Now,
it allow you to open the case without tools?
let me show you. And what
Wait,
I
there's
am
more.
going to see, yes, here's the marketplace of parts. And this shows all the things. You can do a Wi-Fi card. This Wi-Fi 7 card is included in my build. And these are the parts you might use if you had to replace case parts or internal parts. The battery is there, and they have illustrations. They have guides for how to do it, step by step. Users have supplied comments, and the comments show better in Edge than they do in Chrome for some reason. But anyway, there is a forum of people who use framework computers. So if you get into any trouble, you just make a post. And that's your technical support. They do not have a customer support phone.
Is that a 3-cell 61 watt-hour battery?
I have no idea, but I think you may be right. How many connections are there? There's one connection, so I can't tell you for sure. However, maybe I can open the link for it and see if they have any specs. First, I have to move you guys a little and then get to the framework battery. It has both a 55 watt hour and a 61 watt hour available. And
Doesn't say.
it doesn't say, but if you go to the illustration, this may say.
Yeah.
And if I get that open in a different tab, let's zoom in on the image.
Yeah.
And let me see if I can get it up a little. And we'll zoom in some more. Framework laptop battery, capacity, voltage.
What's the voltage? I can't read that right
The
now.
voltage says 17.8 volts DC.
17.8.
Lithium ion. Oh, you can see how many folds there are in it.
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4 cell.
Yes. Okay.
It's 4 cell lithium ion.
Yeah. So it's 3.5 volts, 4 cells. Yes, that would be 17 volts.
Yeah, it's 17.8. So these things take quite a bit of power in order to drive them, especially if you load them up with RAM and things like that.
Well, I saw the other thing that was on there that said they're claiming that it's good for 1,000 charge-discharge cycles, which would put it in premium battery territory.
That is correct. You do not want to replace these with generic batteries because you'll get much poorer performance.
Yeah.
But you can replace the main board, and they've had main boards, since at least the 11th gen Core i7s, and it goes all the way up through the current generation. Another thing I want to show you is what tools do you need to get the case open? One. And they supply it. It has a soldier on one end. It has a flip on the other end, one end of which is Torx, I believe 4 or 5. I think it's a Torx 5. And the other is a Phillips, probably 00 or smaller.
Yep.
And there are reference guides. Let me see if I can show you a reference guide that would give you an idea of what screws there are on the back.
Usually it just tells you removing the back or something like that, and it says, here, you've got 6 screws to remove.
No. Look at these guides. Mainboard replacement guide.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to have to go over to Edge in order to get the comments if we want to see the comments that users have made.
Yeah.
So first it gives you an introduction, which is fairly comprehensive. And then it has a video you can watch that shows how to take things apart. It tells you to unplug. It tells you to remove all your expansion cards.
Mhm.
Right here, you can see one of the screws.
Yep.
They're all the same.
Okay.
And there's, what are there? Okay, I can show you exactly how many there are.
It says right there, 5.
There, 5 screws.
Yep, that's
And
what
they're
I
T5.
expected. Okay.
5 T5
T5
screws. Very easy to take apart. But
Mhm.
if you try to put it back together, that end they're working on toward the bezel, it's awfully tough to get it to lie flat. And you have to be very careful. Again, it's because of what's been crammed in around the hinges
Yeah.
inside.
Well, it's got to take the cable up to the display among one thing, and then usually, I'm not sure here, do they sneak the Wi-Fi antenna in there as well?
No. The Wi-Fi antenna is definitely along the side. I could
Mhm.
probably show you their guide as to how to replace the Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
But see, you can lift the cover. It's not glued. There are no clips. It's just held in by those screws. And then you can lift the keyboard. The keyboard has something that plugs into the main board, and you can disconnect that. The connector. There it is. You can disconnect that if you wish. And you can even disconnect the battery if you're really paranoid. Oh, well, for this, you have to disconnect the battery.
Yes.
And it shows, by the way, this is not how my interior is. It has a different connection. That's a touchpad connector that goes to the back end.
Mhm.
Mine is different. Near the center of the motherboard, it has a single connector for the keyboard and touchpad.
Okay.
So there it is, the interior of the whole thing. That's your main board. And that's the SSD. Oh, no, that's the RAM. This particular one must be their 16 because the RAM on mine is in a different place. I can show you about the RAM because there's something tricky about it.
It's just I was just looking to see how much cooling is in here. And you have the AMD, so it's going to run naturally cooler anyway than an i9. Yes.
Yeah. The fans are not terrifically powerful, and there's just the main cooling fan. There aren't additional fans inside the case. So you don't have fans for RAM, you don't have fans for SSD.
Yeah.
So that's fairly typical of laptops, by the way. They don't have a lot of fans.
I've had laptops in the past which had i5s, i7s, and they would be little space heaters. That's why with this laptop that I got, this is a Lenovo, but it's a Ryzen 7. It runs out pretty cool because it's using a much smaller power supply, and it doesn't need all that heat to have to push, out through the one cooling slot.
Yeah. And here are some things about disconnecting speakers so that you, and all that. And then they have the other things about how to do this, various other things to disconnect. And the display. There's a display connector.
Okay.
And so, and the webcam has its own connector. That's that little thing up there. And so those are parts that I did not have to assemble. Here's the Wi-Fi module right here.
Yeah.
And here's how the wire runs. It runs that direction toward the back. And it ends up going under the hinge. And that's true of both of their models, 16-inch and 13-inch. And that's removal and replacement of Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi 7 module has 2 additional wires that are attached to it.
Probably 2 additional antennas so it can do beamforming.
Yeah, it's antenna wires. And here's memory. Now, there is something different about mine from here. They're illustrating RAM that does not look like mine. It's DDR5 RAM, and it's keyed, and it's asymmetric. So on the left-hand side, you have to put it in chip side down. That is difficult because it doesn't raise up at this angle that they're showing. It raises up to about 10, 15 degrees. And trying to get it chip side down at 10, 15 degrees, it's a nightmare. And it's covered by heavy plastic on mine.
Not meant to be replaced.
Yeah, it has shielding. If there's black shielding, do not remove it. So there's how they remove RAM. and you can do the reverse. If you have one module, it goes on the right on most boards. Other boards, it goes on the left. So storage. This is how the storage gets removed.
Yep.
There we are. It's just an ordinary M2. That one does tilt nicely.
Does it get captive by the captive screw at all to hold it in place? So it doesn't wiggle free? Or...
That's the screw right there.
Okay, good.
And it uses the same Torx 5.
Mm-hmm. No,
and then, huh?
Nice to be consistent.
Yeah. They try to keep it simple from the point of view of tools. And then they do things about the main board being removed. And so you can swap out the main board. That's the point here. There's a lot of screws, and they are different screws for the main board. And they're talking about replacing the main board and screwing the main board in, et cetera, et cetera. So those are the basics of what there is and what can be replaced.
Interesting.
And you have to be careful how you route the Wi-Fi antenna cable.
Yeah.
And that's especially true of Wi-Fi 7 with the extra cables. And inserting the memory, again, they don't really, here, they're illustrating how it snaps in with the clips.
Don't snap it in, it ain't going to work.
Right. And those clips are pretty tight on a brand new framework.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what I wish I could show, and I may be able to, may not be able to, are comments. Okay, in order to show you how the comments work and how that looks, I'm going to copy the URL into Edge. Chrome has something weird about it. Okay, now let me move these guys so that I can do one of these and do one of these. Paste and go. Now in Edge, you should be able to see that there are comments. Mm-hmm. These are all from users as to how you have to do certain things in certain ways. Very detailed, and the forums are even more detailed.
That's nice that the users can update the user manual like that.
Yes, and in the forum you can go even farther. There are topics for many of these, especially for things like the Bezel, where a lot of people have had trouble, and things like the RAM, where there have been some misunderstandings, and where it's different from one motherboard to another. Okay, so I'm going to stop boring the daylights out of people and let you return to your regularly scheduled, normal, and upright meeting.
Sid, you had something you were going to talk about.
Yeah. All right. Let me stop. There we go. I was having trouble clearing that. Let me share and grab this and share. There we go. Let me get that out of the way like that. Okay. So this one is an i9 13900 32 gig terabyte USB 4 HDMI DP Wi-Fi LAN Windows 11 Pro. The price now is $614. I paid $523. It was yeah, I got it in December, and it was they had a $30 promotion discount, and then you could get an 8% instead of 5% using your Prime for slow delivery. So did the slow delivery for the 8%, and they still delivered it in 2 days, which is kind of weird, but they did give me the 8%. So what are you going to say? I wanted to have a home lab machine, which is why I got this guy, because it's got 14 cores and 20 threads, and plenty of power. As I said, it comes with 11 Pro, but I'm probably going to take that off, because ultimately I'm going to run Proxmox on it as its base, so that I can then run Docker containers is the other thing I want to be able to run. So I want to be able to run Docker, and I want to be able to run virtuals on it. What's funny is a couple websites are selling Windows 11 Pro for $9.97, which is a cool thing because you need each VM has to have its own license.
Oh, that's right.
And for $10 each, that's not bad.
No, it isn't.
To buy those, so each VM will have its own license. Otherwise, you can only run one of them at a time, or it gets upset. So, as a way to do it, you can instead then get the Windows 11 Pros and run them in each machine. Overall, I like this configuration a lot. It's clean. I haven't powered it yet, so I can't tell you about the power on it. The 13th gen chip is fairly low power versus previous Intel chips. So in terms of wattage it uses is just not too bad. It says 54 watts there in the description.
This is going right for the mini PCs, because if you were to push too much more, I don't think they can dissipate the power out that slot on the side.
Yeah, this has 2 fans in it, actually.
Okay.
And one of the things about that is some of the comments say the fans get kind of loud.
Yeah.
This is going to be sitting in the office away from me, and if it does that, whatever, I'm not going to hear it from in there. But some have said that. It actually has on the, let me turn off this share. It actually comes with the Visa plate for mounting it on the back of a monitor.
Which I've seen on several of the other mini PCs. They come with the screws and the mounting plate, just so you can put it right there on the back of the monitor.
Yeah, it also comes with a 3-year warranty. Which is fairly good. I think fairly good. Can I share one more?
Sure, go ahead.
All right, let me go back in then to, let me pull this guy up, flip tabs like that, and all right, that's now up. Now go back to the Zoom window, share. I have too much stuff open right now. There it is, share. All right, got my new glasses today. These are hearing aid glasses.
Oh.
They have 6 microphones built in, 4 facing forward, 2 to the sides. So you can put them in a 360 mode or an in front of you listening mode. Nothing goes in the ears. It has little speakers at the temple area. So the audio is sent directly to your ears, which I have small ear canals, which is a good thing for me. I would not call these guys stylish. If you look at the 2 styles, it's geeky and a little less geeky.
You have to have some place to put the battery for these things, okay?
Yeah.
So it's got to live in there somewhere.
Yeah, it does. It has an app to personalize your hearing settings for mild and medium and forward and all around. So it tailors for that. There's a better picture of the app. It also has background noise settings, whether you want to lower more or less to filter out the background stuff.
Okay.
And focus in on the voice stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So you can set that up. And all right, let me stop the share.
Did you need to go to an audiologist for this so he knew what you were doing, or no?
No, I went to an ophthalmologist for the lenses. I went to an audiologist for the hearing design stuff. These do not customize on a curve as you would with professional
Right.
hearing aids.
I am very familiar with the Beltone product, having done some work for them
Yeah.
as a consultant.
I'm struggling a little with these lenses because I've never had bifocal.
Well,
So
then you would be even more shocked to have the no line trifocals.
That's what they were talking with the no line. So I went with the line. They said it's easier to learn.
Yeah.
So these are, but for as I'm looking now, the bottom part of it to look at the near stuff, it's weird because it's so low down below the eye that I almost have to look up and then down.
Yeah. Well,
Or
that
lift
means
the
that's where the
glasses up.
magnification is usually for the farsighted people. That's where the magnification is on the bottom.
So it seems just a bit weird. They said you get used to it. I have a 30-day return on them, so we'll see if I do on that. It's funny because I have iMed insurance.
Okay.
The lens maker company that does these is
Yeah.
owned by iMed. Lens Crafters is owned by iMed. As is Four Eyes, as is now every major chain has been bought up by this company. So they're the insurance company, they're the lens company, and they're the sales company.
Did they deny your claim?
No, but that's where it gets funny. When I saw the EOB, explanation of benefits, they only paid $99 total for the glasses and $30 for the lenses.
And then you had to pay the rest, or no? That was it.
They then said that the providing company, LensCrafter, had to mark it down the other $900.
Oh, jeez.
Because they own them. So think about what they're doing here. They're making their profit number for the store much lower.
Yeah.
And they're making the insurance side look much better for paying out much less.
I doubt that they're cutting into the profit of the stores. The list price, if you don't have insurance, has probably been jacked up through the roof, and I know it has at Lens Crafters.
Yeah.
Well, they sell these frames through their own website. They're $1,200 for the frames. But right now they're 30% off that. So it's $840. When I went in, I was lucky enough to get the store manager at that Lens Crafter because it took about a half hour because she had to figure out how to stack 5 discounts I have.
Wow.
Because the way the insurance works, they pay $220 towards the frames plus 20% of everything over that towards the frame. Plus, there's a copay for the lenses of $25. So the stuff over that is discounted. Plus, then $50 off because they had a coupon on the iMed page discounting. Plus $250 off for the putting it together and all that crap. So it went from $1,870 to $806.
Wow.
By the time she was done with everything, because I added $149 for a 2-year gold warranty in case of breakage and all that stuff, and $50 for the transition stuff. So it darkens outside. And so so basically if I didn't get the warranty and the transitions, it would have been down from 1,800 to $600.
Wow.
But it's odd the way they do all this. But we'll see how well it worked. They were supposed to charge it when I got it. So I get it home here and I'm trying to set it up with the app and it's totally dead.
Yep. How does it charge? Does it sit on a wireless charger?
Yeah, it comes with its pad.
Okay.
Which is this long thin pad to set the glasses on. and then charge it. Then you just take them and you just set them upside down specifically.
Yeah, it's probably got batteries on both sides.
It doesn't. No, it doesn't. My friend John has had these for a while, and the battery, the main Achilles heel is it doesn't have a tremendous amount of battery life. It's about 6 hours total. But his
Okay.
point is it's got an on-off button. So if you're just sitting and reading or doing something else, you hit the off, and only if you're in a meeting or a restaurant or whatever, then you
Uh-huh.
pop it on. And
Okay.
that way, he said he's never had trouble getting through days doing that. Two more toys. I got this guy.
Are you in
Uh,
the Zoom meeting now?
no, it's not powered on yet. I didn't hit the power button. It does have pass through with with the multi cameras on the front, so you can look through it. This is a 3S Quest. They were doing a special on the holidays for $249 and throwing in Batman. I have till the end of the month to decide if I'm going to return it or keep it. I do not like the weight of it versus my old Oculus Go, and I bought this add-on the strap thing, which
Was
is
that counterweighted?
well, it's the stupidity of it. There's a knob on the back here, so
Yeah.
you can adjust the loosen, tighten. However, if you're sitting in a chair or something, it's then into the back of the chair pushing forward on you, which is idiotic. It makes no sense at all. And so that's idiotic. And the other thing is you have to have it at exactly the right angle to the eyes or it gets fuzzy. It's nice
Yeah.
and sharp and exactly straight. But if it goes either way, it gets fuzzy. My Oculus never does that. It
Uh,
stays nice and straight. So that is just stupid. And I have no clue why they. I mean, seriously, who thought of something that stupid in design? I
Interesting.
have I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea. Weird, just weird stuff. But John, my friend John said you have to get one of the new ones.
Well, you can tell them, well, they did it, but they did it stupid.
I ordered one other toy that's not coming for another week called Pocket AI. It's a little thin recorder for transcribing wherever you are. It's constantly recording stuff and transcribing it.
And was it transmitting it somewhere too then?
No, you put that on with the phone app or tablet app, and it downloads that data, but it always stays local. It never touches the cloud.
Okay, good.
So it doesn't do that. But the deal they were doing, and they're still running the Black Friday deal. We're kind of in January, but hey, they're still running it. Is $99, free shipping, and unlimited minutes. Their normal is you get included in the base plan 300 minutes a month. So this way you get to keep unlimited for life with it.
So where does the transcribing get taken place? You upload to the cloud and does the transcribing and sends it back to you?
It can do the transcribing on your local phone device.
Okay.
Probably
takes a while then.
It probably does. I don't have it yet, so I can't tell you. I will tell you that I've been using Twin Mind. And if you haven't played with Twin Mind, do yourself a favor and try it. Because it is wonderful, especially wonderful for visiting doctors. And December, I was visiting everything from podiatrist to urologist to endocrinologist to internist to orthopedic.
Wow.
And so if you hit Twin Mind on while you're at the doctor, it transcribes the whole appointment, gives you notes, gives you an action checklist based on the appointment of what you need to follow up with.
Ooh.
And it does an amazing job of it. I'm not saying use it for everything, but for doctor visits, it's perfect. It gives you full transcription with everything.
So what you do is just turn this on your phone and you go into your doctor's office and everything is captured.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
have to let the doctor know you're recording this?
Oh, I don't, but I mean, it's their Twin Mind is built for privacy. It's actually HIPAA compliant.
Okay.
It broadcasts nothing to the cloud, and it doesn't keep the audio anywhere. It only transcribes. It doesn't keep the audio, which in some ways is negative. You can't listen back.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it makes it pretty lightweight of storage space.
Good.
Yeah,
because audio would be pretty heavy to record for that period of time.
Although not as heavy as video would be. But in this case, it's only keeping the transcriptions. And with their AI, you can then ask questions of it. What doctor told me to do what blah, 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 and it will search through all those appointments and break it down for you.
Interesting.
It is
good. I may have to recommend this to my significant other.
They had I use an app on my tablet which lists free apps for that day. And Twin Mind was free for life for that day, and I quickly signed up.
Well, she takes me along, so I'm the Twin Mind that she takes to doctor's appointments.
Yeah. Now their intent with Twin Mind is you keep it on 24 hours a day. So it keeps your life then. And it actually has a thing in it where after some number of hours, 72, 90, it tells you about yourself based on what it's heard. It generates a report of what it's learned about you.
I need to have this into a cabinet meeting somewhere and just see what it tells about the people attending.
There you go.
Okay.
Okay. Anyway, it's cool stuff.
Yeah. Here is, I'm going to do a couple shares here. This is one. This is my answer to what I've used for not enough ports on a laptop. It's cheap. It's got a HDMI port on it. It basically intercepts the power connector. So it goes into the power connector, but then provides additional ports. So it doesn't consume anything in order to have these additional ports available.
$10.
Yeah, and I bought a couple of them at the time. You cannot do one into the other and have all the ports work. I tried that. They don't daisy chain well. But it can be plugged into another port if you have a second USB port and then use the ports that way. But it's got USB C. It's got the other USB 3.2s, and it seems you can look at the. I'm not sure it's going to magnify too well. I'd have to click to do all this. Yeah, but it gives you an idea of what it's capable of. Sort of like what I have a dock that I'm currently using, which has even more ports on it, and then does the Ethernet for me as well. That's the one thing it doesn't have. It doesn't have Ethernet. The other one I wanted to do, and
can you put the link in chat?
Sure, I can. Copy. Now I need to find the chat. Chat. Good. All right, good, yes. All right. There's the link. All right.
Thanks, sir.
The other thing I have is this. Okay. This is what I decided to use for one of our church's replacement computers. So we have a desktop that's currently using, and I couldn't find the one I was looking for with the right storage available before shipping in sometime in February. So I picked this one because it had the 32 gig of RAM and the 1 terabyte PCIe. So I figured, and it's got 2 gigabit Ethernet ports in case you wanted to turn it into a router, but it's not necessary. Comes in with Wi-Fi 6E as well and Bluetooth 5.2. And like I said, this is a little pricier than what they used to be. I think when I was looking at some of these other ones that if you only want the 16 gig on an R5 and then a Ryzen 5, then it's down at $220. Or if you wanted the Ryzen 9 and you wanted to pay a little less, you could get that because that's on discount. But I heard that the Ryzen 9s have a tendency to run hot. That's why I sort of said Ryzen 7 is going to be just fine for that. So
I concur, Ed. That's also what I found out with the frameworks.
yeah. So I think, they run cool most of the time, but I will post this into the chat as well in case anyone's interested in it. Good. All right. And I can do the stop share for now. And we can open this up to open forum. Anybody have any questions that they've been dying to ask and just been holding off all this time? Yes, go ahead, Sid.
Well, I don't hold off particularly, but one of my machines is an LG Gram 17-inch. The internal display has died. It works fine over HDMI, but nothing on the internal display. Then
have you looked for a replacement at all?
No, I haven't, because the AI tells me that it's not worth it, that one of the power lanes is dying and it won't keep working. It came to that conclusion because the other thing is it wasn't showing it as charging at all.
Oh, and that's a power supply motherboard issue as well.
Well, it's charged through any USB-C plugged in its port that has enough juice.
Yeah.
But it said the problem was it's supposed to negotiate the power, and it's not. And the reason it's showing connected. It's got the little plug thing, but it's not. The text then wasn't showing that it's plugged in and or charging. On the other hand, when it's connected to power, the charge percent is never going down.
If it's powered off completely, does it charge at all?
Well, it charges fully when it is turned on.
Well, no, you said, but the percentage doesn't change, doesn't go up.
No, but it doesn't go down.
Oh, it doesn't go down at all?
It was sitting around 96% for 3 days.
And, okay. Oh, and are you expecting it to go to 100 or not?
Well, here's the thing, though. So I thought it might go to 100. It was staying at 96. Now, so I shut it down, restarted it a few times. Right now, it's at 100%, and it says battery status fully charged, 100%.
I have had, and I look for most of this in some of my professional type of laptops. If it's above 95%, it will not charge anything further because it's trying to protect the battery.
Right.
On the HPs, they would do that as no more than 92%. They would leave it as is and then not charge because it would say it's connected, but it's not charging.
Yeah. Well, the Dell that I'm on here has a switch setting in its app for power where you can set it to an intelligent mode where it won't go above a certain, or turn that off and let it go to full all the time.
Yeah.
My ThinkPad had one where you could set the max percentage to 90 or 95 or 98 or whatever you wanted.
I know on my Motorola phones, they have an overcharge protection, which sometimes I run amok of because if it's above 80%, because I've been sitting in a chair and they're down to 62, let's charge it up, and it charges up past that particular amount, 80%, it'll stop charging. And now it's not fully charged, and I can't usually go the whole day without getting it charged. So I have to go in and tell it to relearn my patterns so it will then charge it all the way up. But I've gone through like a ritual at night because I would shut down all the apps, clear all the Chrome windows, and flush the cache, plug it in, and then say, do not disturb for the next 7 hours. And then it would go ahead, charge, and then just sit there, and that's what I wanted it to do. But there are times, because I will mention in my presentation that my Home Assistant, because I've used my phone and my tablet to access the Home Assistant display, will keep track of the battery charge and not charge on Home Assistant. So Home Assistant in the activity log, I can see when I plugged in my phone to charge it, and if it stopped charging like 10 minutes afterward, it'll say, yeah, stop charging. It's connected, but stop charging. But that's something I didn't know that it had the capability of doing, that I'm pleasantly surprised to find out.
My Pixel phone has, they call it adaptive charging. If it's nighttime, it goes into slow mode and it says it'll be full by 6 a.m.
Yeah. Well, I normally don't put it on a fast charger anyway. I just let it charge on a slower charger. But then eventually the connector decided to deteriorate on that unit. So I swapped it out for one of my backup phones. And I've been living with all of these updates that finally have rippled through. This is all in the last month. I think I've gone through 8 updates on this phone, trying to catch up to where it was supposed to be. And I think it finally caught up with the most recent update.
But anyway, back to the LG again. So is the power motherboard dying?
I would guess it is. Yeah. Too bad you can't replace that USB port and control logic with a plug-in one like what Bob has.
Yeah. Well, some notebooks I have a barrel connector or the C. This LG does it. They did a 17-inch notebook that weighs 2.65 pounds. They didn't have much room to do too much extra on it to keep the weight down. So
yeah, I've found it only be USB-C or the barrel connector, and the barrel connector is typically about a 19 to 20 volt input and a special power pack for it. I mean, the HP ones had a pin in the center. Other ones may not have had, or maybe had 2 connectors only. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the nice thing about some of the newer power packs is when it would go into fully charged mode, it would then lower the power on the power pack, so it would go about below 1 watt. Yes. Any other questions? Wayne, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, I got a new device for Christmas. Are you familiar with Rainforest or Eagle Rainforest?
Yes, I am. Rainforest Automation.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a Zigbee device that lets you monitor your power in the house.
Right.
You got the good one that hooks up to the internet, right?
Right. And,
that's the one I should have gotten. How easy was it for you to connect with ComEd so that they will start allowing you access to it?
That was the tricky part. It's not real straightforward. Let's put it that way. I had to let me get out of here. But it was a little tricky. I went to the ComEd. You know, I've got a ComEd account, and I went to the ComEd ComEd.com or whatever it was. But it's tricky because you have to go into the. I think it was on the energy saving thing.
Yep.
It's real tricky. And finally, I had to tell them, the stuff that was off the box, the MAC address and initiation address, whatever it was. So after I finally figured it out, it only took about 2 days, and they finally got it hooked up.
This is the manual version.
Okay.
You have the nice electronic version, which lets you store stuff, but you can only access it with a web browser and an app on your phone, right?
Yeah, I can do it on my phone. Let me show you what it looks like. Let me take my video thing here up. Get rid of my
Background.
yeah, let me figure where's the background.
On the video settings.
That's what I'm looking at. Video.
No background.
Where's no background? Oh, there we go. None. There we go. There you can see.
Yep. And you can see your power use and everything else. I think
instant power use.
that can interface to Home Assistant. If you had Home Assistant, it'll actually pull that information out of there automatically, logging into your Rainforest automation device, and then be able to use it for energy usage on your house.
Yeah. But I also have a ComEd app that allows me to shows that it'll show me what my bill is, and it'll actually show me my usage, daily usage. The thing is, since this is an all electric house, it's it's a little more interesting. You can see. Yeah,
it's not going to let me see. Oh, there. Yes, I can.
Yeah,
see
you can see on a daily basis what my electrical usage is.
Does it try and tell you what devices are doing it, or tries to guess at it and said, this is how much from your heating system, and here's how much from your refrigerator? And
well, that when you on the ComEd app, it allows you to put all that sort of stuff in, but this doesn't really tell me which one is going.
It's trying to do an educated guess. Yeah.
But I can see on my Rainforest thing when the electric furnace kicks in, it jumps up, or when I've got a electric fireplace, I can see that go on, or an electric stove or whatever it is. You can see how it interacts.
Interesting. Yes, that would be. Yeah, Sid, you had a question?
Yeah, I have two questions about this. How does it compare to the Ting that I get with State Farm for free?
Ting doesn't measure power. It only measures sources of like power outages and those things, but it does not measure your current power usage. This is measuring your current power usage.
Okay. And then the second question, if I log into my ComEd account on the website, it shows me usage and devices and most of that stuff without having any other device.
You can, but it's delayed by 24 hours. That's
right.
Different. It is. It's delayed by 24 hours because it uses that 24-hour interval to capture. That's called your green button data. If you notice carefully, it is exactly 24 hours out of date. Tomorrow you'll be able to tell you what your power usage was today.
Right.
But the Rainforest is doing it in real time, so you can see immediately, like, oh, well, I'm really using some power here, Because I can turn around and look, and it's costing me right now 23.9 cents per hour.
Yeah.
I have adjusted mine for the approximately 21 or 22 cents, including delivery charges for my kilowatt hour rate. That's something else you can do on the online ComEd webpage, is to set the cost per kilowatt hour.
Right.
And that will be reflected on your Rainforest automation device. Interesting stuff.
What do you get out of getting real time? I mean, if the air conditioning or heat is turning on, you're not going to turn your heat or air off.
No, but you could decide, I'm looking to see how much it's using. In my case, I was able to determine by how much power the air conditioner was drawing when it was trying to start up that something was definitely wrong with it, and I had to have them replace the starter cap on the compressor so that it would start up evenly and wasn't using as much power. tells you how efficiently something is running as well.
Yeah.
You might be able to determine something by how long it runs. And
Right.
if you go outside with your your infrared thermometer and then look at the coils on the evaporator to see, or the condenser unit, condenser, to see what's the temperature difference between the top of the coil and the bottom of the coil. If it's more than 10 degrees difference, you probably have dirt plugging the fins, or something else is not working. You're low on Freon, in which case the air conditioning guy will tell you the same thing. That it should be almost be the same temperature within 10 degrees from the top to the bottom. And then once he determines all that, then you can usually use it to determine if there's something else that's not working. I can sort of gauge, even though I don't have my thermostat connected to my automation system, I can determine how many times the heat has cycled in a given day. On the really cold days, my temperature, my furnace will cycle about 11 or 12 times. On one of these warmer days where it gets above 40, I may only cycle 4 or 5 times.
How is that different than using your Ecobee, which I have, which gives you some of that information at least?
Let me locate the Ecobee. I think the Ecobee is in a box over here somewhere. That's the difference. My Ecobee needs more wires for it to be deployed, and I haven't gotten around to running the wire.
They actually, they have an adapter for running without the extra
I wanted to
wire.
wire up all 8 wires just because that way I can control more on the furnace and maybe even control the humidifier as well.
When I had the AC replaced, he put in the extra wire for me, but anyway, to do that, the Ecobee also does do warning things. For instance, if it's trying to cool down in the summer, but the temperature isn't dropping as it should be, it sends out a warning that something's wrong. It's not actually cooling.
Oh, okay. Well, I usually am pretty aware of when it's not cooling. Okay, let me go ahead and find my presentation here. Any other questions before we go into the presentation? Okay, Dennis, you had a question. You got to unmute.
Just a bit more clarification on, these adapters, plug-in adapters, for
USB chargers, yes.
USB chargers. One is
we're not getting all of it.
The ones that have the USB-A, the big size, USB-A size. I've seen online where some people are selling, an adapter to make it the small USB-C. Are those safe? Are those okay to use? No problem? Or
you mean the cord that goes between the two?
Well, no, they know an adapter, so you can take the A, put an adapter in to make it the C size.
Well, depends on what your cable is that you use to plug into your phone. Okay? Yeah.
Well, I didn't want to use these on a phone. I was going to plug them into the wall. And what it is my, for Christmas, my son gave me it's some lithium battery that you take it out, you can pump up your car tires, pump up football, pump up bicycle tires kind of thing. And it didn't come, it came with a little cable for USB-C, but then I had to find an adapter. So that's when I got to the question of, wait, I don't understand what I'm reading on these adapters. For instance, this one, and let me read it. It says, well, input is 100 to 240 volts.
Right.
And then on that same line, it says 50 to 60 hertz, 0.4 amps.
Okay.
But the very next line says output 5 volts equals 2.1 amps. So I'm kind of confused. Why am I seeing 2 different amps on it?
Because one's an in and one's an out.
Right.
The 0.4 is input from the AC line the 2.4 or 2.5 is output on the 5-volt side.
So the 5-volt equal 2.1 amp, that's what's outputting. And on this device, it does say they don't recommend charging it higher than like 2.1 or 2.2 amps. So then
that would be perfectly adequate to do that. And then the only need, basically, the adapter is, you could use a cord as well. If you had a USB-A to USB-C cord, you could plug it into the USB-C port on the device you want to charge, and that will work as well.
So
I bought adapters on Amazon that went from the C to the A.
Well, that's what I was asking.
What you can do, you can use that as well. They come as little tiny adapters as well.
Right.
But if most of your cords, almost all of my cords are USB-A to something else. I mean, this is a USB-A or USB 3.2, and this is USB-C. Okay, and that's the cord. That's the standard cord. I know what you're talking about. I have the adapters that do USB-C to USB-A and USB-A to USB-C, both kinds that you can use as well. But that means you have to have a bunch of USB-C to USB-C cords around, and those aren't usually the most common ones you pick up in the store.
I didn't realize it came as a cord. I only saw like Wayne, like it's an adapter. I didn't realize it came in a cord.
Oh, you can, most of the cords, you can buy the cords at Menards. You run in there and you get a pack of 6 of them at various lengths.
Okay.
And
one more question on this, which is another one of the devices. It has 2 things on it. It says output 100 to 240 volts input, but output, and there's 2 lines. 5 volts equal 3 amps. 9 volts equal 2.22 amps. Why the 2 lines? What am I?
That is a fast charger. That's what's called a fast charger. Okay, it can deliver higher amperage at 5 volts. But then when you plug in a USB-C cord into a device, they handshake. They handshakes to 5 volts, 9 volts, 12 volts, and 20 volts. And I think there's even a higher voltage that they can handshake higher to if you're talking like a laptop power supply. Because technically, I could use a USB-C laptop power supply to charge my phone. It's supposed to handshake, and it will probably work fine. I haven't done it yet, but that's, it is physically capable, because it's not just one voltage that comes out of the cable with a fast charger anymore. It basically talks to the device and said, I can do 1. Can you do 1? I can do 1. Can you do 2? I can do 2. Can you do 3? No, I can't do 3. Okay, then we'll use 2.
Why does it list a 5 volt and a 9 volt? Why?
Because it can run at either voltage.
But only those 2. But only those 2 volts.
Only those 2. Yeah.
And how do I know about my device which one it's using?
Well, your device support fast charging?
See, it doesn't say that. No.
Is it a phone?
No, it's a air pump, portable air pump.
No. It said a maximum of 2.1. It probably will only use the 5 volt 2 amp. It doesn't have any need to go to the fast one, because it can't do the handshake.
Well, this one does. This one kind of says it reverse. 5 volt is 3 amp. 9 volt is 2.2 amp.
Yeah, but that one there's more power. The problem is on the cord restricts how many amps you can use because of the size of the connectors. So if you can use a higher voltage with a lower amperage, you can deliver more power to the device. If you did the mathematics on that, you would say that's a 10-watt adapter, okay? But when it's using the 9 volts at, what was the amperage?
2.22.
Okay, that's 18 watts. How do you think they get a laptop power supply of 60 watts? Okay, they're using 20 volts at 3 amps. Okay, so it steps up in voltage. The current is limited by the size of the wires. That's the same in your house as well. If you use 14 gauge wires, you can only run a 15 amp circuit. If you have 12 gauge wires, you can run a 20 amp circuit. Same thing in this little tiny cable that plugs into your phone. They're using number 24 or number 22 wires inside of there, and it's only good for a certain amount of amperage before it overheats. So with a 5 volt only, you're going to get about 10 watts into the device, and however many milliampere hours it's going to take to charge it up, that's how long it's going to take. So if you have a 5,000 milliampere hour battery and your phone is dead, okay, and you can put 2.2 amps, into it, it's going to take a while to charge it up, like a day. But if you have a fast charger that can deliver 9 volts at 2 amps, well, that's 18 watts of power that's been going into the thing. It's going to charge it up even faster. And if you can do it at even super fast speeds, like 20 volts at 3 amps, that's 60 watts. It could charge it up in 15 minutes. So you see, when you see these advertisements for different devices that can accept fast charging, that's how they do it. They handshake with the charger, and that's sometimes a good thing, not always though, because usually with the benefit of fast charging comes something else you have to realize. You may diminish the battery life when you charge it fast all the time. So you charge it slow all the time, you're going to have the maximum battery life. You're paying the premium to say, I need 15 minutes of charge so I can go to the Bears game. Okay? Well, you're taking that thing, you're cut out a couple charge cycles because you did that.
Okay.
Hopefully that explains what you're looking for. Okay. Let's get the sharing and click on this. Okay. I have a couple of slides here that are going to, hopefully this goes away. All right. Need to pull that down a little tiny bit. Good. Now I can get to the top of here. Okay. So as I'm reminded, my Wemo support was leaving in 2026. You've seen this slide. I've had this in a couple of my things. You have to move your Wemo devices to something else. I have noticed as of late that the Wemo app is becoming less responsive and doesn't always show the correct state of the devices. So I said, time to get off of there, and that's why I started looking into Home Assistant and Home Assistant plus the cloud support. So I had remote access to the Home Assistant when I'm not at home, which really helps a lot. So I had planned to assign IP addresses to the individual switches manually with DHCP reservations. I have finally removed my linked account between Google Home and Wemo, so that in case I can't do it after the Wemo shutdown, I figured let's try it beforehand. And again, I mentioned the Wemo app stopped showing correct status of some of the devices. The Home Assistant Green, basically it's a baby Linux box that had 32 gigabytes of eMMC, quad-core ARM, so it's pretty much like a Raspberry Pi, but it draws a lot less power than the Raspberry Pi because it's really dedicated to just running the Home Assistant software. That's what the box looks like, and it's sitting over there blinking right now. Even though it's made in the People's Republic of China, it was available on Amazon. I had no problem getting it. This one has the gigabit Ethernet, which I plugged right into my wired network, which does help with reliability as opposed to devices that are only Wi-Fi in and out. Sometimes the coverage or interference occurs, and you might have some reliability in turning your remote devices on and off. So as long as I can reach the dongle that's plugged into the wall so I can turn on and off the switches, that means it's relatively reliable and I have good coverage, then it will switch them on and off at the appropriate time. That's a picture of what the box looks like. Now, I've noticed as of recently, a whole lot of other people are starting to jump on the Home Assistant bandwagon. And this XDA developers is something I subscribe to. All of these are that could almost be a presentation upon themselves to go into. What the people are using this thing to help them go to sleep at night by playing specific media, setting up when you walk through the room, if it's got motion sensors, automatically turning lights on and off so you have true hands-free operation as you walk through your house. Lot of information. If you want, take a look at all those links. This is what the dashboard originally looked like when I first fired up this machine, and it had the original 16.1 load. Since then, it has been upgraded about 4 or 5 times. I did sign up for the Home Assistant Cloud after my 30-day subscription, and I've been using that, and they charged me $66 or something like that for a year, and that's perfectly fine with me. It also is a place where it can do backups of itself and its configuration so that it will keep an off-site backup for me. These were some of the device functions that were available that I've shown previously. It had the capability of doing automations, scenes, and scripts. Scenes are automations, basically turn on, turn off at this time based on these scenarios. A scene is a repetitive thing where you can basically create it and apply it to multiple devices. And scripts can be executed based on if a device changes a state of some sort, like a motion sensor goes off, go and turn on all these other devices. So I will admit that person. Okay, so this is my previous slide. It said automations will be next, okay? I turned off all of my Wemo automations and moved over to Home Assistant automations. So here's the current version of the Home Assistant. It upgraded again in January, so it's on the newest version of the software. It says there's no new current. I get a little tick mark that says a notification is available on the Home Assistant screen, and said, oh, there's an update that needs to be applied. I have not tried to do any of these updates remotely. I've always done them while I've been present. So I did subscribe to it. That allows the off-site link that you can access your Home Assistant remotely. It adds the integrations for Alexa and Google. I have added the Google integration. However, it still has some nuances, partially because Google is in the process of removing Home Assistant. In case you didn't know, they want to move everyone over to Gemini. And they're planning to do it in a staged rollout. I believe they want to do mobile devices first, and then other devices will follow afterward. So I turned off all the Wemo automations and added my new ones, and everything seems to be working okay. This is some of my automations right here. You can see I've done separate ones for turning a device on and turning it off. That way, no matter if there's a power failure and it gets restarted, it will eventually turn off or turn on appropriately when the next event occurs. So it's not stuck in a quasi state. I used to have, or I have, settings for turning off the Christmas lights inside and outside at different times. So I can turn off them. I started it doing this way so that when I wanted to check to see if it was accurate, I could see the event. But turns out with a activity log, I didn't need to do this. I could find all of the information I needed in the activity log that showed me what was happening. So I had my living room light. Basically, I have these things turn on and off so that a little after sunset or near sunset is when things can get turned on, and they get turned off sometime, probably midnight or sometime a little after that. I haven't used any of the scenes. And part of my thought process for replacing the Wemo was to do a direct replacement. So the Wemo had this to turn on, this to turn off. I just mimicked it in the Home Assistant. I set up the times to turn off at like an offset after sunset, which is very easy to do with Home Assistant as well. So you don't have to turn it on as soon as the light diminishes, but you can have it timed to go on some time after that. and it automatically calculates sunrise and sunset based on the location because you tell Home Assistant where you're located. So it automatically knows your time zone, it automatically knows your latitude, and it can calculate the sunset and sunrise. On the trace and log capability, showed the activity performed and surprised me when I saw it tracking charging on my phone. So here's the Christmas lights outside on. So when the sun sets, offset by 15 minutes, okay? And then you can do and if conditions, like I said, I don't have the outside lights on already or whatever, turn on the Christmas tree lights outside. So you can do a bunch of these things, and it has they've enhanced the automations with the latest release, but my old ones are still working just fine. Here's the one that turns it off. It says, when the time is equal to this time, boom, turn it off. I could say if the time is between 1:25 and 6 a.m., turn it off as well, and it would work the same way if there was a power failure right at 1:25. Although this should probably continue to remember things. It may lose its internet connection, but it will remember the fact that it was turning stuff off because it's plugged into a UPS. And this is what the activity. So when you look at the activity, the oldest activity is on the bottom. And I noticed something else. It's tracking my new TV set, which keeps turning on and off, either looking for updates or something else. But the Home Assistant is capturing this, the fact that the TV is available and not available. There's the Christmas lights off, triggered by time, at its appropriate time, 1:25:10. And Christmas tree off were triggered to go off at 1:30 and 10 seconds. Well, it actually is 1:30, and the 10 seconds is what it took to do before it logged it. And so this is something I'm interested, like, why is my new LG TV accessing the internet every half hour, even when it's turned off? And there's some nebulous answers there as to, why is it accessing it? I don't think there's a camera on my TV, but it could be listening to me. It does say it could act as a Matter hub if I wish. So if I wanted to interface some of the new devices to Matter, and I've talked about Matter in the past. Matter is another kind of communication protocol that allows devices to basically turn it into a type of mesh almost, to allow your devices to talk to each other and to talk to a Matter controller, which would interface to the internet. But using the web interface on my phone and tablet, I was seeing the activity log in there when I plugged them into chargers at night. So I could say, oh, you got plugged in at midnight. You stopped charging at 12:30. Why did you do that? Because it thought it didn't need to charge any further. So, and that's kind of nice that you can actively diagnose if you got your automations right or not just by going into the activity log. If you find devices that are staying on, okay, and not reliably being switched, then you can start to diagnose further to try and figure out, okay, what kind of issue am I seeing here, okay? With the Home Assistant, wherever it can, will use local control over the device. So unless it's been configured to go through a server, like my Wemo devices had been, I made them all local control, so I don't need to use the Wemo server to turn them on and turn them off. As a result, they're much more reliable at switching on and off, and they're also a lot faster. And then I can see, basically, do I have poor coverage where this thing is located? When I first started playing with the Wemos, I found out that if I had two Wemos plugged into the same outlet strip, they could interfere with each other. When one is transmitting its results to the router, it could deaden the other one if it was trying to receive something at the same time. So I would have unreliable switching if they're both plugged into the same outlet strip. So other activity notes. Here's one where you can see this thing that says turned off by action switch. Okay, so I turned this thing off manually. That's how a log entry would show that said, oh, somebody in the Home Assistant turned that thing on and off. If you had Google Assistant doing a voice command, that turned on this particular device, the two things in red. And again, you can see my TV going on and off as well. This is the activity right here shows the time like within a 3-hour window, and then you can go backwards and forwards on that and go back days and days if you wish. So future plans are to investigate scenes and try and figure out what my smart TV is doing every half hour and update to the ecobee thermostat. Now I'm going to change the share here, and I'm going to change the share back, and I'm going to do this one right here. So this is actually showing my current setup right now. Okay, and if I wish, there is a one right here behind me. You can see my background lighting up. If I wish to click it, it's actually that fast. If I try to do this with Wemo, it probably takes about 2 seconds for it to reach the server and come back. Not exactly what you would want. It also has, as part of the what do you call it? This desktop image right here on the control panel. It has the temperature, and you can configure what you want to see when you click on these things as well. And it can basically give you an idea. Okay, what's the outside temperature? What's the inside temperature? The other thing that I had to do is, if I want to keep track of how many times the furnace cycled, that's how I can take, here's how many times it cycled today. Okay, being it was cold this morning, it was 14 degrees. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times today. Okay, now you can see this is in one of the coldest. In the master, you can see that the peaks are less pronounced. Okay, and if I wish to do the office, same difference. You can see at 4 a.m. it got down to 68 degrees. The highest temperature was 77 because this room has a vent that's open on the other side there behind all of this equipment, and I haven't moved over to close it. So, but the heat in the first floor is probably better because then it will transition to upstairs. I also have the playroom upstairs. Sometimes we have the grandkids up there, and you can see similar types of things. So it's really tracking when the furnace turns on and off. It also can track the humidity and show you basically as it warms up, you see the humidity change, and when it gets colder, there's the 4 a.m., that's where the humidity is highest because it's coldest. And if the same amount of humidity is in the air and the temperature changes, your absolute humidity will be reflected appropriately. So that's some of the things. If I wanted to go in and examine some of the devices, let's see, that's Tapo. Let's do Tapo 1. Okay, this one right here. This is the current use of my laptop right now. You were talking about the rainforest automation, Wayne. Well, this is showing me on a per plug basis how much power I'm using. That's one of the nice things about the Tapo switches. They can, through the Tapo app or through Home Assistant, look at your energy usage. And if I want to show more, I can go back. And this is something that works out a little bit better than the Tapo app on my phone. If I want to go back and pull up the history, it's saved all this history. I can keep on going back and back and back. and see every time I've used my laptop, and the rest of the time it finished charging, so it wasn't drawing any power at all. And like that's part of the amazing part of having something like the I think I could probably turn the TV on from here as well, but that might disturb my significant other if it's already on and I turn it off. It does not have the real-time capture of the Blink devices, but it has the last snapshot. Supposedly I can arm and disarm it, but I haven't played with it because right now for my Blink devices, I may only have the front door on arm and this other one in the basement is not armed. And if I arm and disarm it here, it'll arm both devices. And that's not necessarily what I want to do. I could separate these by putting one in a different room, and then it would made to show them in different places. And that's basically what I had. Okay. I can show you what some of the other things look like in the settings. This is where you have your Home Assistant Cloud. Here's where the automations come in. So here's all of my current automations that are on. If I had scenes, I could add them here. If I wanted scripts, and script is a series of actions that runs from the dashboard, automation, or triggered by voice. So you could tell it if you had it hooked up to a voice assistant. And they have their own voice assistant hardware. If you want to have your own equivalent to G Home, you could do that as well. And then there's blueprints that allows you to have templates that can be used for other things as well. So zone notification is per room. Motion activated lights could be added that would automatically turn on all the lights when some motion occurs outside and then turn it off in 10 minutes if there's no further motion. You could do a lot of those type of things as well. Other items that are in here, areas, labels, and zones. These are, if I put pictures on these things, it would have that. It's able to know exactly where I am, and that's how it keeps track of like sunrise and sunsets. Okay, let's go back here. Dashboards. If you want to change the way the dashboard looks and not have something on the dashboard, you could click off and then take it off of the main dashboard. So you could update the way your dashboard looks if you wanted a cleaner dashboard. Voice assistants. So right now I have, I started doing the Alexa, but trying to add the Home Assistant skill for Alexa was a little bit chancy, and it kept on wanting me to do something else on the phone, on the tablet. But Google is doing it, and you choose what devices that Google can see from Home Assistant. So you physically expose only those devices that you want to be controlled. If you don't want them controlled by Google, then you don't expose it to Google. So then it doesn't know those things. And there's other things too. So, I mean, there's the version information, okay, shows all the things that you can go into, the bug reports, if you found something that wasn't working. If you wanted to, this is all the system updates, any sort of logs. Some of these logs go into the core. You could look at the supervisor, and then you can see this thing really is running a version of Linux. Because the supervisor logs are basically coming right out of the image. So that's basically what I have here. I can go back to the dashboard. And like I said, control a lot of other things. This is actually not a fan that's hooked into the family room right now. It's actually, I think, plugged into the Nintendo Switch. So if I turn it off and turn it on, it will automatically power the Switch up, and then it will start taking over the TV. So as you change things, you may want to change what the names of each of these things and what type of switch it is. So, any questions? Okay, Dennis, you have to unmute if you want to talk. There you go.
So basically, the Home Assistant will connect with a Tapo device, a Wemo device. It connects with your furnace Ecobee. That's how it knows temperature and humidity stuff. Or
Well, it did. I have some additional Tapo devices in different rooms that look like this guy right here. Let's see, will it focus on it? Only if I get close to it.
There you go.
There. So this connects via, I'm not sure, I don't think it's Bluetooth. I think it is maybe, it requires a hub. And the hub is located behind over here, plugged into a USB power supply into the UPS. So the hub will talk to all of the temperature sensors. And I'm not sure how many temperature sensors you can maintain. I think it's like 30 or 40 I could put on it if I wish. Right now I have like about 4 of them in different rooms because I didn't have any way to keep track of, well, is the temperature uniform? Did I have the vents open the right way? I got one room too hot, another room too cold. I didn't have any information. Now I do, and I can see which rooms work better than that. I've decided to leave some doors open upstairs so the air can flow better. And then, like, with the cooling didn't stay upstairs, it ran all downstairs. Then I would close the door. But if it's heat, and I want the heat to go upstairs, then that is appropriate as well.
so what kind of cameras do you have that are out?
The cameras I have, it found my Blink cameras.
So it can connect to Blink cameras, the Home Assistant.
Yeah, it can connect to almost any camera if you want.
Okay.
There are literally, every manufacturer has interfaces. I could connect to Tapo cameras if I had a Tapo hub that supported them. I could have Blink. I could connect to Ring cameras, even if they probably were falling out of support with Ring. I mean, probably would even do the old Nest cameras too.
So the only reason it knew about your phone charging is because your phone charger is plugged into a Tapo device or something.
No, it's actually talking to the phone and seeing activities on the phone, and the phone is telling it when it's charged and when it's not. The tablet, my Alexa tablet, Fire tablet, it's not plugged. It's plug it into any charger. In fact, if I'm outside in the car and I plug it in and I'm within range of my Wi-Fi, it'll probably record that too.
Okay.
But it's letting me know that, okay, I could see when the device got plugged in, it was charging. And if it stopped charging for some reason before it was full, then I can see, oh, when did you turn off? Why did you turn off? I can go in and explore that further. But it doesn't seem to care about the laptop, but it does happen to keep track of the phone, basically Android-based devices.
Okay.
And I haven't, I don't think it is tried to access the picture frame. I do have a thing that it's got a stranger device name in it, and I realized it looks like a 10-inch Android tablet when it's really one of these Nix Play photo frames. So it's flipping for its different things. But I don't think I've ever seen it report anything like charged on not charged or fully charged or whatever. But I haven't really looked in the activity log. I just happened to scan the activity log and scanning through all of the entries for the TV set. And I thought, oh, what's this? So found some other interesting spots.
So when you had to get rid of the Wemo because they're getting rid of the Wemo controller, you found Home Assistant. Were there other choices you had to look at, or? If
I was an Apple person, I'd use Apple HomeKit.
Okay.
But I don't have any Apple devices to speak of other than an old iPod Mini, and that doesn't qualify as an Apple device. Not anymore. But this way I should
Home Assistant wouldn't connect to any Apple device, right?
I'm sure
No.
if it was able to be HomeKit compliant, I mean, yeah, again, HomeKit is one type of communication, and Home Assistant is a similar but different. I mean, they're going to have different communication schemes and probably different protocols. I didn't check to see whether it will directly control HomeKit devices or not. But there are so many devices and automation for add device. There's literally, I want to say at least 100 screens on the device when you try and add a device. Here, let me do this. I'll show you if you try and add a device. Okay, so I'm going to push this thing over. Okay, and I'm going to try and do a plus device here. Add a device. Okay, so you can search for the brand. This is the way. This is the one and the numeric numbers, and this is all of the kinds of devices. I'm just into the D's here. We're into the H's here. We're into the M's.
Wow.
The P's. Okay, and I need to grab it again so I can pull down. Okay. Tessie. Oh, let's see if I can find the Tapo is already here. There's Tado.
I saw Thermidor. Isn't that one of these on your grill?
Could be, yes. If it's got a Wi-Fi connection on it, it could probably interface to it. And even some of the stuff that Z-Wave is capable as well, okay? Because I saw Z-Box Hub, Z-Wave, well, Zigbee, okay? Zigbee interfaces, so it could interface to other things through that. And if I wanted to do Matter devices, it's not, this is only brand name, but I know that if I needed to go through the Matter, a Matter hub to talk to Matter devices, because that's one of the options on some of these switches is to talk via Matter or light bulbs controls. That's how you can do it. But there's a lot of different devices you could add to this. And the level of integration is, something that may need to be desired, but I was pleasantly surprised on what the Tapo capability was. It was able to import the temperature, the humidity. It was able to do the history and the power use, do the current power as well. I mean, okay, how much is it drawing this second? Yeah, you could look it up. And I suppose I didn't look to see if Rainforest Automation is in there. I could probably do that. Let's see if I can find the one that Wayne has. Yep, it's there. I could add Rainforest Automation. Next to Rainforest Automation is Rainbird. That means it can also control sprinklers.
Yeah, it's called Eagle on the Eagle one.
Yeah, that's you have the Rainforest Automation Eagle device.
Right.
Yes. But this would connect to the MAD. That's their brand name. So I would do there, and it would probably say Eagle. And if there was an Eagle 2, it probably said, oh, there's an Eagle 2 out here as well. But a lot of these things, it found itself. I mean, I didn't have to do anything. As long as they're connected to Wi-Fi, like, oh, you have a refrigerator. Oh, you have a TV. Oh, you want me to link to those? I don't think I need you controlling the refrigerator just now, Home Assistant.
Does that have BN Link? I have some of these BN Link Wi-Fi devices.
Let me check. It's B-N?
B-Link.
Yeah. Blink.
B-Link.
B-Link or Blink?
No, it's BN-Link. BN Link.
BN Link. Okay.
BN.
I don't see it here, although it may be another. Let me just go down through BSB LAN, Bliss Automation. I don't see it, but it doesn't mean that it might not show. I may need to have it. It might be a sister brand or something. Is it a switch?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm reading online. I did a Google search. It says, yes, BN-link devices, often sold as HBN, can connect to Home Assistant, primarily through the official Tuya integration in Home Assistant. Tuya, Tuya, Tuya Smart or Smart Life app.
Okay, let's look for Tuya. All right.
For older devices, flashing Tasmota firmware offers local control.
Yes, Tuya is here.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. But again, some of those, they're going to run into a similar problem like the Wemo did. When they start talking about reflashing them, is being able to put an alternate firmware package on it. I saw there was some on one of these things that I had in my presentation. One of these links, the guy was talking about adding smart home doesn't need more devices, better automation. Let's see if that's the one I'm looking for. No, this isn't the one I was looking for. There's another one here. There's a thing you can just look on the XDA site and then show all of the, can search the Home Assistant. Let's do that. Okay. This one guy was using different type of controls to be able to access the Home Assistant or to control things like water sensors and other things. And he found this little, it's, I want to say it's an ESP32 based sensors and smart home devices. So this is his article. And this is, I'll do a share of this. Okay. All right. So this guy used ESP32 based sensors and smart home devices to work with Home Assistant. And so the reason he did that, let's see if I can add some more here. Okay. This is the one I want, but now I need to figure out how to get to this because this is just the search. All right. So let's see if I can find the rest of this article. Anyhow, this is the devices that he used, and he was able to pick these things up for approximately $4 a piece, and they needed a power supply. Yeah, you can, for $4 you can buy an ESP32 device. Then you got to hook it up to a charger of some sort to supply power. But then he plugged in different sensors onto the back of this to be able to control it. There we go. Good. Gone. Junk phone calls at 10 to 9. Yes. Wonderful. But he found a way to interface to a number of these things as a vibration sensor plugged into that. So you could just hit the surface and turn on his computer, tapping the surface. And this is the code that he would use to turn it on. Okay. Most of these, they will write code in Python to be able to do this. There's a temperature and humidity sensor, and he was able to find this with a different type of chip. Most of these are like Arduino single chip computers. They're they're much smaller than a Raspberry Pi, but then they use a lot less power. And for dedicated sensor use, you don't need a full version Linux running to support this. So, and he found the sensor. So he basically found stuff, for, like $5 or $10 or less. And then that's the software he did, and be able to measure it and do it as a current device. And it would be captured by Home Assistant. Sound sensors. Interesting. Anyhow, you can look at some of those links that I put in the presentation, and let me go ahead and put that into the chat. Right. Now, file. That's what I want. My computer. All right. Open and hit the share button. Okay, now you all have a copy of it. But it's very surprising what this little box is able to do. Again, when I was talking about Home Assistant previously, there used to be a Home Assistant Yellow, which basically would use a Raspberry Pi 4 or Raspberry Pi 5 as the host, but they are no longer supporting that, or they're not manufacturing the chassis that you would put the Raspberry Pi in. And I think Raspberry Pi is probably a little bit of overkill for what you would need for something like this, because it needs more power. I mean, unless you're using a Raspberry Pi Zero, you're going to end up needing a power supply of at least 5 volts at 3 amps. They're a little bit more than you can do with a standard phone charger. You need probably about 3 amps to run most Raspberry Pis, and especially the 4s and the 5s that have something like 4 or 8 gigs of memory. And the one that I currently have has, it runs 3 watts, but it has 4 gigabytes of memory on it. That's the important thing, is to run the Home Assistant software, it has to have about 4 gigs. But if you want, and you have an old computer, you can get a version of Home Assistant that will run on that old computer. You just have to leave that computer running all the time. And last time I checked, even a small desktop is going to suck up about 100 watts every hour. And that's like leaving a 100-watt light bulb on all the time. It's going to cost you a little bit more. I mean, you could get by running it on a laptop, perhaps. But it's going to be, you have to re-image it to run everything on Home Assistant, to run that version of Linux and the software that's running on it. But that's an option too, if you don't want to spend the money for the dedicated box and power supply. But it's definitely a possibility. Any other questions? Yes, Sid.
Well, stop that. Head on mute. Okay. Plus the earbuds died, so it's now going through the Intel array built in the notebook. Few things. One, you did a wonderful job. One of the things I bought over the holidays was new bulbs from Govee. And they support Matter. And I was trying to figure out what Matter gives and how Matter sits as a layer with all the other stuff.
You need a Matter hub. The Matter hub will interface one side to the internet and the other side to all your devices with Matter. And depends on what frequencies they need to use to communicate to the Matter hub. A lot of these devices that are using Matter, if they're slow speed devices, but you want to have them very far away from the hub, will be using the UHF 902 megahertz band. So they'll see something on the side that says 902 or 958 megahertz. Other ones will operate in the Wi-Fi 2.4 gigahertz band, and they can cause some interference, but just like all your other IoT devices, depends on how many devices you have. But Matter allows devices to communicate on behalf of other devices as well as a type of mesh, if that's what you want to do. But the newer controllable devices will probably all be Matter. But as I just found out, my TV set right now will suffice as a Matter hub if I turn it on. but I don't think I need it looking for Matter devices and ready to control the world. Just something about your TV set controlling things. There's something wrong there.
Yeah, well, but what I didn't understand, I'm looking at the kitty behind him. What I didn't understand is the Govee bulbs do Wi-Fi, and they talk to everything as it is, including the Govee Home app. So what does Matter do with those things that already do what they do?
If you already have it, then you don't need to. If you already have support, then you're probably fine. But it depends on what is doing your control. All right. Yeah, I think this is it. This is the Govee website on Matter. Expanded protocol support beyond Matter. Whether it'll support those things. It allows the some of the other things to be controlled with a single app. I mean, that's the goal of Matter. But if you already have Home Assistant, that sort of makes it superfluous. Because you already have the Home Assistant to go do all this control for you. If you have stuff that's Matter-based, great. If you don't, you're still okay.
Yeah, I wasn't clear. Because when you run the Govee Home app, you click a button and it automatically lets you add it into Alexa, and then click another button, it adds it all into Google, which then sees all the different bulbs right away.
But it's going through the Govee servers as well.
Is it?
So you are requiring having to have your IoT devices go to Govee first, and then they go to Google or Alexa.
Is that how that works?
I believe so. Well, it can. I'm not sure how, because you're integrating it to the Alexa and to Google through integration. So it's going to have probably a cloud presence. I know that my Home Assistant automation uses Nabu Casa to talk to Google. So that's how that interface works for implementing the assistant interface. But I could use my own local assistant interface if I bought the Home Assistant voice device, and it would talk to me, and it would not go to a cloud then. It would just be local in my house.
Okay. By the way, there is a HAL 9000 assistant thing out there. It's an open source project. And there's a secondary project to it using 3D printing to print the looking device to talk into.
And let me guess, its first message out of the box is, I can't do that, Dave.
No, that would be the last message. Actually, the first message is the original HAL 9000 startup thing, which they have a recording of. So it was.
Would you like to hear a song?
Yeah. Daisy. Yeah. So, but anyway, and it runs on a Raspberry Pi.
Okay.
That project. So it is out there as a way to do that.
HAL 9000.
Yeah, it's
Well, I haven't yet turned on Gemini to see what its voice response is on the Google Home, because I'm not sure if it's actually, I mean, it tells me it's ready to start switching me over, but I'm not ready to jump off and then have half of my devices on Home Assistant and half of them on Gemini.
Yeah, be aware that it's missing a bunch of stuff and you can't go back. Once you put it on the devices, at least that's what they tell you, is once you move up, you can't go back.
There's one real important thing to realize if you do go to Gemini, and that is if you use the live function, where you can continue to converse back and forth, you need a premium subscription.
Yeah. I saw that. I saw that. I rarely wanted. I have the A plus software on half the A girl devices. The other half are too old; they don't support it. And it and I have regular arguments because it doesn't want to do what I ask, and it sometimes does it one way, and sometimes it doesn't do it the right way. And then it argues that it's temporarily unavailable. And I say, what do you mean temporarily? And it actually then says, it should be available now. And I try it, and it comes back and it says, it's unavailable. And I say, you just said it should be available now. And it says, I did say that. You're correct, but it's not available.
Did you ask it if it was being stupid or not? And then figure out what cutesy people have programmed some responses for that?
I tried that once, and then I figured out you don't want this thing mad at you.
With all of the things it can control, probably not a wise idea. Like when you're walking through that beam to the garage door to shut the door, he could decide to shut it a little early.
I mean, I can ask it to play a certain station everywhere, which means it'll do it on all the devices throughout the house. If I create a routine with that same command, it won't work. Because evidently last October, Amazon broke the code and it's not able to do that. But it won't tell you that until 5 iterations through, and then it will say, that doesn't work. You're right. Because in between it'll actually go, let me try a different method. It's like I set up a routine called hand to do 20-second hand washing, to do a countdown. And sometimes it does it right. Sometimes it plays it on a speaker on a different floor. It can't do it everywhere reliably.
Yeah. The other thing that does not interface to my home assistant is my garage door opener, because I have a Chamberlain. And
I do too. Same issue.
But if you get a device from Open Garage, I think it's called, there's a open source version of a garage door opener, Wi-Fi enabled smart garage door opener, which will work with many devices, and you could replace your MyQ stuff with that.
It's sneakier though. I don't know if it's still available, but when they did the MyQ, they had a premium subscription thing that did work, but you had to pay for the premium subscription to do it with the MyQ stuff. I don't know if that's still what they have available.
I still have a subscription that I do, and that records the video and records it open. The nice thing about it, it lets me get interfaced to some of the diagnostics on the garage door opener. So I can actually go in and figure out and see in there how many times the garage door has opened and closed.
I get that anyway.
No, but you know the exact number of how many times it's opened and closed? Not the day, total over its lifetime.
No.
Okay. Because the springs that they installed when you first put in your garage door opener are good for so many cycles. So they're good for either 10,000, 20,000, or maybe 50,000 cycles.
Okay, but when it breaks, then you know.
Well, that's when you replace the springs when they break, you can tell them, I want to buy 50,000 cycle springs. And they will order them and they'll bring them out for you and put them in. Okay. And then you don't have to worry about it for another 50,000 cycles. They're much stronger, whatever. They do what they need to do and last longer. That's the important thing about that.
Huh. I didn't. Although my garage opens and closes max 5 times in a day. So 50,000 would be longer than I'm going to be around.
Yeah, in theory, that's what you can say, but let's see. History, where's the diagnostics? No. history. That's filters. They keep changing the features on here. That's what I'm looking for. All right.
Mine has a log.
Yeah, device management. Nope, it's not there. Garage, nope. The garage door hub. All right. Nope. It's in here somewhere. I just haven't figured out where. Here, the diagnostics. Okay, good. 15,000 cycles. So if it was 10,000 cycles, I'd gone beyond it. Yes. It was exactly 15,000, which means tomorrow I have to check it and see if it's gone to 15,002. Or is it just count up to a number and say, beyond this, you're winning. You can't know how many you actually did. Yeah.
I like the captioning. It put a $sign in front of that 15,000 in the tray, in the captioning there.
Oh, that's cute. Yes.
And for the 02 one, it did also a $sign 15,000 too.
Well, but you can buy springs. The normal ones they come out and bring are only 10,000.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all they're rated for. And so if you've ever noticed, the first time you had your garage door opener and it was brand new and it ran for like 10 years, okay? And then all of a sudden you're replacing the springs every 2 to 3 years. You're like, what gives? How come I can't get them same? Because the ones that were put in originally, they didn't want to fail before the warranty period. So they made sure you had heavier duty springs. And when they replaced them, they put in lighter duty ones. Now, you can make the spring last longer if you periodically lubricate it. So you need to spray some oil on it and keep it so that the things, when they rub against each other, the individual coils, when it compacts and it's not under tension, that's when they stick. And then when it's trying to pull apart, that's when it's trying to, and it breaks. That's what causes them to fracture. Something you never knew about garage door openers.
Now, with your subscription, because what I wanted to be able to do was with the garage door opens, I want to be able to adjust the temperature and the lights in the house.
And they discontinued the interface that allowed you, the SDK, that would allow you to interface to that to control that. However, there is still something that you can do with it if you have an if this then that subscription. If you have an if this then that, then you can trigger something outside of the MyQ subsystem. But that's the only way that I know exists currently. And you'd have to, like I said, have the premium if this then that subscription to be able to trigger outside of the environment.
Interesting. Yeah, the only other way I thought to do it was geofencing.
That might work too. Okay, geofence it, and or like the people have said, the older garage door openers just had a contact closure that would automatically open and close the door, and now it's a smart button that's being used. So you just can't short the wires and have it open and close, which used to be really interesting on older garage door openers. When the mice would chew the wires, it would automatically open and close the garage door to either let in or let out the mice.
There you go. I love it. Going back to before you were talking, I got the 900 megahertz. That's the Yolink devices I have, the water sensors. Use that, and the bulbs use the 2.4 gigaband.
Okay, so yeah. Then and depending on how they wish to communicate, they can either communicate via Wi-Fi, or they could be using Bluetooth, low energy, or they could even be using Zigbee. Any of those. Because Zigbee does operate in the 2.4 and the 900 band, depending on what Zigbee low ray or Zigbee Wi-Fi. And the Zigbee channels are different than the Wi-Fi channels. So Zigbee channel 12 is approximately in the middle of Wi-Fi channel 6. And currently, my rainforest automation device, and just like Wayne's, is probably operating on Zigbee channel 12, which means it interfaces with your channel 6 Wi-Fi to some extent. You wouldn't really notice it too much because it's not doing a lot of communication, but it just does occasional. And have you ever looked at your meter when you have this thing hooked up, Wayne?
No, I haven't.
If you look at the smart meter,
Yeah.
if it doesn't have any other devices, it flashes on and then it goes to away and blanks out, and it flashes on and blanks out. Is the normal operation when you don't have any Zigbee devices monitoring the meter. And that's the normal operation for the smart meter. When you have a Zigbee device connected to it, Rainforest Automation or whoever, it flashes the display and then it flashes busy, and then flashes the display and busy. There's no off time. It just says busy in place of that. And that's when it's communicating to your device to let it know what has changed.
I'll have to try that. Well,
Yeah.
I know it would go on and it would flash and it would change, with the time and the date and the number,
Mine says busy in between that.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, because I was walking by like, what happened? Why does that say busy? Who are you trying to talk to? But the other thing, I mean, it could also be communicating upstream because the smart meters are configured to use a Zigbee Wi-Fi channel of up to 200 milliwatts. And they can use this to communicate to another meter nearby, which will then get closer to this thing on top of one of the poles in your neighborhood, which collects it. So it talks to the meters that it can reach, and all the meters, those meters, forward stuff from other meters to them. And because of the speed at which they transmit and also the bandwidth needed to transmit the information, that is why the smart meters are only set to capture and send information in every 30 minutes. Because if they send it in faster than that, it would overload the backhaul. And then it can't get the information to billing. That's why if there's a power outage, you don't get billed for that last half hour that was on. You'll just see it gone right there. Oh, we don't have that data anymore. Yes. Okay. Any other suggestions? Some other things I thought about possibly looking into was I've heard some talks of Zorin OS as being a good replacement for an old Win 10 machine to be able to make it useful. Specifically, Zorin OS 18 seems to be the one. As long as you have a 64-bit capable processor, it's supposed to run faster, stronger, better, higher frame rate than a Win 10 equivalent on the same hardware. So I may experiment with that, and I may have a presentation on that. Depends on whether I get a round to it. Any other suggestions while I got you there? Yes, Sid.
Immutable Linux distributions.
Immutable?
Yeah.
Immutable.
It means you can't screw it up. It is read-only installation, and only their updates can unlock it, update it, and then relock it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Look into that.
There are a bunch of pages that cover the ones available. There's a version of Fedora, and there's an OpenSUSE version, and there's even an Ubuntu Core version, which is. I mean, I love the concept of an immutable version.
A lot of people seem to like the concept, but the practicality starts becoming a headache.
Well, it sort of sounds like Windows 10 and 11S, where you can only get your apps from the store. You can't do much else with it. I mean, you can do some things, but you can only run apps that are available in the store. And if it's not in the store, you can't run it. which would
Well,
be
will
similar.
let you do email or internet surfing? YouTube?
Yeah, I'm sure you can do. You have to do some of those things, even with an immutable Linux. You're going to have some dynamic memory area, but maybe nothing is saved outside of it. Everything must be kept online. That's a possibility.
The immutable portion is really the operating system, not the applications.
Well, like Windows 11s, you can't use anything outside of it unless
Right.
it's basically browser based.
Same with 10s.
Okay, all right.
Offhand,
In that case-
for anybody interested, next Tuesday, the 20th, is a Windows Office and AI meeting. And I believe it's the 27th, a week later, is the Linux SIG meeting.
So if anybody's interested, you have the information about that.
I haven't
Okay,
set up
I'm going-
everything yet.
Okay, I am going to then stop recording. I think we're done. It'll start to go ahead, yes.